Good Saturday morning and welcome to another edition of the award-winning Outdoors with Larry Ray.
Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency.
Now, here's your host, Larry Ray.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome to Outdoors with Larry Ray as we roll in again to our 24th year on the air. And always one of our favorite shows coming up today. And I hope you guys like it because it's really back-to-back favorite shows, okay? Today, you know, is the Bassmaster Classic preview show. And then next week's show, I'm going to go ahead and give you a tease right now because that is our turkey show. And we will be gobbling throughout this room next Saturday morning. So you folks out there, get ready. We're going from the Classic to one of my classic events, and that's the turkey show next week. And, you know, this show is Outdoors with Larry Ray and Ron Wong. I mean, because this is not bonus Wong. This is regular Wong, and and this is one of Ron's favorite. Ron's with us, and Ron helped put this show together. Good morning, Ron.
Hey, good morning, Larry. And I have to tell you, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Oh, always is when we talk fishing with Ron. And
absolutely,
Ron made a great suggestion that we needed somebody else in there besides me and Ron. So this will be our interpreter. For what Ron says, I will rely on Brian Brasher to understand what Ron's saying to me. So, another one of my favorite people is with us. He is another survivor from 495 Union Avenue. And if y'all don't know that's where the commercial appeal still stands. There's nothing in it, but that's where it stands. It is our good friend Brian Brasher. And good morning, Brian. How you doing, buddy?
Good morning, Larry. I am doing great, and I cannot wait to see Ron Wong dressed in full camouflage with his painted neck turkey hunting. That will be a sight to remember.
Well, we appreciate it. Of course, Brian is the editor of the BASS Times Magazine, senior writer for Bassmaster.com, and Ron Wong is he's just Ron Wong. I mean, he's our fishing guru. He makes them all for us, representing Outdoors of Larry Ray. And so we're going to have a lot of fun today, guys. I know this is close to Brian's heart because it's part of his job. And we might say that the stitches are out. Brian's on the mend after some pretty valuable neck surgery. And hope that, Brian, that everything works out good for you, buddy. And because coming up here, March 22nd through 24th is the 54th annual Bassmaster Classic.
I wouldn't miss it.
That is amazing.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
In Tulsa, Oklahoma, out of Cherokee. I mean, you can tell us, Ron. You know all about
Grand
it.
Lake of the Cherokees. Better known as Grand Lake.
Yes.
Which is about 70 miles from downtown Tulsa, close to Grove, Oklahoma, but that is a great venue to have a Bassmaster Classic, and of course, Tulsa does a great job housing the expo and everything else. And I got to tell you, it is unbelievable to see all the excitement. And you know what? The thing about the Classic to me is it is the only expo that is open to the public where they can see a lot of new
You like that, don't you, Ron?
Stuff.
You need some new stuff, Ron.
And, typically all these manufacturers have always shown the new stuff at ICAST. Well, they've gotten smart now. They said, well, we're going to introduce some of the new stuff because it's open to the public. And I have to tell you, the expo at the Bassmaster Classic is one of my all-time favorite things to do every year.
And then we're going to throw in, as Brian knows, the 56 anglers, which is almost the same number as the years this thing's been going on. They no longer fly and not tell you where they're going. Back in those old days when Henry Reynolds would get on the plane, he didn't know where he was going. And then back in the days when I got to cover this great event, and what I'm really this thing, and Brian can explain it to us a lot because, hey, we got 56 anglers. Listen to this, folks, all right? Ranging from a 17-year-old in this year's tournament, the youngest ever in Classic history, to some guys that have been here a long time and still looking for that first win. And we got them everywhere. And Brian, I've looked at the lineup here. We got them from Japan. We got them from Canada. Let's see, we got them from Australia. Another one from Japan. Heck, we even got them from Alabama.
We even got them from Louisiana.
And Louisiana. All those points in between. Well, so talk to it about, Brian, what it means to you, this Classic.
It is. I went many years as a fan before I even joined the ranks of the journalists, and then I went as a newspaper guy covering it, and now I work from the inside. And I never knew as a fan and as a journalist what it to put this show on. This is just a massive undertaking that so many people work so hard on year-round to make sure that every little detail is right. And no matter how hard they work, no matter how many situations they consider, the very first day we're there, something is going to come up that we never imagined.
Yes,
so
yeah.
It's that kind of event, and you have these guys there, and they range from super confident. You got Greg Hackney coming on.
Yes.
Nobody battles Greg Hackney.
Yes.
Then you got these guys who are just overwhelmed by the atmosphere, and you can't blame them because it's a huge show. So you just such a range of emotions. You go out, if you're there, you have to go out the final day. Ron can attest to this. Go out the final day before the Sunday weigh-in and watch the video they do from past classics where they show highlights of people who've won it in the past. It'll just bring chills. It'll bring tears to your eyes because it is a celebration of everything that pro fishing has been for all these years. And it's just something that if you haven't been, you need to go once in your life just to experience what it's like.
And we're going to really give you guys, people out there, a tease today because this lineup that Ron has helped put together, and I know Brian knows all these guys, we're going to roll it out today. Joey Cifuentes, Tyler Rivet, Bryant Smith, and Greg Hackney and Brock Mosley are coming up right after our first break of the morning. We're going to roll them out one after another. And I know, Ron's already made my pick, so I'm and we can go ahead and say it, Ron. You're going with some guy that's from Dry Creek, Oklahoma, right? Okay.
That's right. I'm picking Jason Christie.
A real long shot Ron's going for here. I mean, don't go on the limb.
I have to tell you something, Larry.
What?
You know what Brian was talking about, the emotions. Having talked with a lot of the participants in past classics, they say on takeoffs in the morning, for them to, they're only idling past the start area, and just to see the fans and them cheering them on, they said there's nothing like it in the world, and they so appreciate the fans.
Well, the fans will be there in numbers in Tulsa. I can guarantee you that. And we're into some warmer weather. I know they got tornado watches this weekend, so I'm glad you're not there right now. But
I'm glad.
You're glad?
Get rid of them. Get those things over with.
So I said, well, he went with Jason Christie. Well, I'm going to go to Greg Hackney. Okay, I want this man 18 times in the Classic. I think it's time.
And he's ready to win it.
I think he's ready. Now, Brian, I know you work for BASS, so we don't want to put you on the spot, but there's only 54 choices here. I mean,
I've been put on the spot about as much as you can be put on the spot. I odds gallery every year, so I made Christie the odds-on favorite. It's his pond.
Yes,
you have to pick Christie, but I'm going to throw a name out there for you.
All right.
A Japanese guy named Kenta Kimura.
Okay.
Who just
all right.
He not only does well on the elite circuit, he lights up the open circuit. And there's a real interesting story about an open that he fished on Grand Lake back in 2021. that he should have won, that he
Okay.
may have overthought a little bit and thought himself out of. So,
Okay. Hear that,
keep
folks?
that in mind.
Okay. Kenta Kimura out of Harakata, Japan. So
Yes.
I've already circled it right there, and I put mine by Greg Hackney out of Gonzales, Louisiana, and of course Ron went the long shot. He picked Jason Christie. I bet he had a long thought on that and everything. But I know these guests.
Good half of a Super Six. Wasn't it?
Yes. It's going to be fun. That's coming up the 22nd through the 24th. A lot of you folks be heading on that way from Memphis. Of course, that's I went to school in Fayetteville, but I think I spent more time in Tulsa, guys, than I did in Fayetteville. Okay, I mean that's the town that no road goes straight. They all come to the center in that area there. So now that's one of my favorite places. That's where I saw the Righteous Brothers. I can still remember seeing them there. So, folks, there's a lot of great things going on. And so we want to thank Brian Brasher going to sit in with us. Ron's going to be with us as we roll out these. And good morning to all you good folks in Memphis here on 92.9 HD-FM and 790 AM. And, of course, out in Brownsville on 1520 AM and 95.3 FM. And Jackson, Tennessee on News Talk 101.5. We're going to take our first break of the morning. We're going to roll them out. The Cowboys next on Outdoors with Larry Ray.
Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM.
Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife and Resources Agency.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on one of my fun shows of the year. I just can't wait for this show because it's the Bassmaster Classic. And, boy, I could tell you some tales about my first Classic many, many years ago. And I know one of our guest co-host, Brian Brasher, can relate his Classics. And, in fact, he still works for the Classics now. And Brian is one of our co-hosts. And, Brian, I know it's going to be hard for you and Ron Wong to work together here with me in the middle, but y'all handle it. Ron Wong is sitting in, and all three of us can't wait to talk to this next guy because he was a hit the first time he came on Outdoors with Larry Ray, even if despite living in God's country over there in Arkansas, you know. But it's always fun to talk to Joey Cifuentes. And Joey, good Saturday morning to you, buddy.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Well, we're wired, you can tell. You know, I'm on all the pills I can take to take this show, but we're going to talk Classic with you, and I know both of these guys. Brian writes about it, and you can read about Brian in the Bassmaster Classic. The Bassmaster magazine on TV and everything else, and Ron, of course, has covered your events, and I'm gonna open it up with my first question at all, Joey, about preparation for this Classic. I know that it's an exciting time, and Ron will ask you the technical questions, but how do you get yourself mentally prepared for this?
Honestly, I'm going to treat this tournament just like it's any other tournament. I'm going to fish to win, and I'm going to do my best to try and minimize all mistakes and errors out there on the water, and with a little preparation and different things. But yeah, I really feel like I'm just going to treat it like any other tournament. I mean, I don't want to get. I know it's a really big tournament and it's not like any other tournament, but I just want to keep a good level head here and just try and fish and catch the biggest 5 fish I can catch every day, and we'll see what happens.
All right, Ron, ask him something.
Hey, how does Grand Lake set up for you? Does it play to your strengths?
Yeah, so, well, it does. It can. It depends on kind of what the weather does and it leading in. You know, I really like to fish offshore, but I have no problems fishing shallow and fishing in the dirt, you know, and the rocks and cranking and all that and flipping and stuff like that. And it may come to that. I don't know. You know, we have to see kind of tomorrow we start practice tomorrow, see what the water temp is and see how everything goes. But anyways, yeah, if they're a little offshore, I feel like I could do really well. I really like to fish kind of out there and maybe get some fish that are staying out there for a little while longer before they go up and spawn. And if I can do that, it'd be great.
And I know, Brian, I know this. This is your first Classic, right, Joey? This is your first.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it'll be my first.
Brian does this for a living. What would you recommend? What would you say to a man that's never fished this before, Brian?
Exactly what Joey said.
There you go. Yeah.
He's got it down to a T. Treat this, you're going to have all the media day and the night of champions. Treat that like it's something that doesn't have anything to do with the tournament.
Yes.
And then when practice starts, when the tournament starts, it just treat that like you would an Elite Series tournament. You seem to have that figured out. So don't mess with that.
Yeah.
Don't change any of that for no reason. And I thought last year with Lake Seminole, it was so impressive to see you go out and find something that really not a lot of the crowd was paying much attention to.
That's
something
right.
that a lot of people wouldn't have expected at Seminole. And I think that's a big key to a Classic as well, because you've got some good anglers who are going to find all of the obvious stuff.
Yes, yes.
If you can find that stuff that doesn't stick out, you got a real shot at it.
All right, Ron.
Yeah. Well, Joey, you can't do it by yourself. You got a great family that supports you, and some great sponsors that helps you make it to the Classic. And certainly you want to show them that, you're deserving for what they do for you. Talk about that.
Yeah, that's kind of like the one thing I really want to do now, since I've had my success and I've had these, these sponsors and stuff, is my following has grown so much of the people that follow me. It's funny because I have people sending me messages all the time now, like, I'm picking you in fantasy fishing for this tournament, that tournament, like,
yeah.
I want to do so good. I want to do the best I can. And I'm very competitive. So I'm always trying to do my best for my sponsors and do the best I can in each tournament. They don't always work out the way you want, but I really like to fish to win, and I'm either going to catch them or I'm not. But my sponsors are really awesome this year, and have been with me for over the years, and hopefully I can get some real big old fat fish in the boat and and maybe win this thing. You never know. I mean, it's anybody's ball game. I mean, I really feel like any one of these guys could win, and why not me?
Are we going to ask these guys how much we're expecting it's going to take to win? Are we going to ask them that?
Yeah, that's a good, yep.
So I've got to ask you, Joey, I know this is your first class. It's not your first rodeo. That's a pretty good phrase for you. It's not your first rodeo, cowboy. I mean, put your hat on and think about that for a while. Have you even thought about that?
Oh yeah, I definitely have. I'm gonna say it's gonna take somewhere around 64 pounds.
All right, okay, here we go. All right, that's catching some fish, Brasher, right?
That's huge.
You'll take 64. You'll take 64 pounds right now and wave your hat at everybody, right? I mean,
absolutely.
the consistency absolutely. There, and talk about. Your fans, Joey. I mean, in the last couple of years, buddy, that's been pretty amazing the way that you've the fans have adopted you, and you got fans throughout the world. And you're in an event here that's got anglers from all over the world. How do you? Are you looking forward to that? To meeting these guys and having a chance to rub shoulders with guys from Japan and all over the world?
Yeah, it's really cool to see the amount of people that love bass fishing and then that really love this tournament specifically, the Bassmaster Classic. I mean, like you ask, somebody that doesn't really know about bass fishing or follow it, and they know what the Bassmaster Classic is. It's such a big tournament. So yeah, I can't wait to get out there and meet the people and see the fans when I go across the stage and all that stuff. It's so cool to see all those people that support me, and it means a lot to me and my family. I mean, that's what makes this job fun, and that's what I love about it. Meeting the kids and maybe setting a good
example. Yeah,
good example for the kids, and teaching them, teaching different techniques and helping people catch more bass. I mean, that's what I love about my job.
And I got to ask Brian. Let me ask Brian real quickly on this, Brian. These guys have become such great communicators. How important is that in what they do, Brian?
It's more important than ever before, and
yes.
It gets more important every day. It's I don't think we could have envisioned back when Ray Scott created all of this chaos
yes.
that Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and all of these things would be so important. But it is. I mean, your fans they are thirsty for every view, every sound of your voice that they can get, and that should be so flattering to you guys. I'm sure it is, Joey, that they want to hear what you have to say. They want to see you, and it's vital to a pro's success. I think you would agree, Joey.
Don't you, Joey? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have to, I mean, my job is to promote my sponsors and do all that stuff, but to communicate with the fans, like I said a minute ago, and teach them, they want to know these techniques that I'm doing or the way I think about fishing. It may be different than somebody else, and so it's always cool to dive into that and tell people different things. And that's, like I said, that's my favorite part of the whole thing. I love teaching fishing.
Well, I think you've been doing
Joey,
that.
yeah, and you do a great job. A lot of the guys, they'll go to a lake that's close to where the Classic's going to be on Grand Lake, and they'll go and practice on other lakes. Do you do anything like that?
Yes. I actually have done that several times. There's a few lakes really close to Grand that are going to fish really similar. Water temp's going to be the same. And I am on that.
That's a lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah.
And a lot of your local tournament anglers don't think about how they can practice like that, and that's a good tip to give them too.
Yeah, absolutely. It just when you get in that region and you get close to that lake, I mean, you're going to see pretty much of the same stuff. Now, you can pick a body of water that may be completely different, but if you look at the map, you can tell, like, hey, this one's similar, and you can really pick up on different things and baits. I mean, the bass are going to be eating pretty much the same forage and stuff like that, and so you can learn a ton, and I've been doing that. So.
Well, we appreciate you, man, taking time before the Classic, Joey, to be with us on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Great information, buddy. Now, I know, how many Facebook followers you got now?
Well, my Facebook is around 16,000, but my Instagram's around 25,000. So that's where more of my people follow. And then I've got a bunch on the Twitter and the TikToks and all that other stuff.
How many did you have 5 years ago?
Maybe a couple thousand, maybe.
There you go, man. All right, buddy. You got a lot of folks pulling for you. Thank you, Joey, for being with us. And I know Ron Wong will be looking for you. Ron will see you in Tulsa, buddy. All right? Have a great one, Joey. We'll talk to you later. All right?
Yeah, I appreciate you guys and everything you guys do there.
Thank you, man. All right. Let's take a break on the Outdoors with Larry Ray. It's just starting. We'll be right back talking Classic on Outdoors with Larry Ray.
Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM.
Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife and Resources Agency.
Hey, welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on AM 790 right here in Memphis every Saturday morning from 9 to 10:30. And for this next guest on our Bassmaster Classic preview show, I'm going to turn it over to the man himself. He wears out 3 or 4 pairs of tennis shoes at every Classic, I know, but he buys new ones. And that's my good man, Ron Wong. Tell us, Ron, who's coming up next?
Hey, thank you, Larry, and good morning, everybody. Well, we're going to go from Larry's God's country in Arkansas to L.A. Lower Alabama.
All right.
And our good friend who has been on the Outdoors with Larry Ray.
Yes, he has.
Tyler Rivet.
Yes.
Tyler, good morning to you, buddy.
Good morning to y'all.
All right. Are you fired up, Tyler? Are you ready for this? I mean, this will be what your how many classics? This your second or third?
This is my third one.
Third one. Well,
Yeah.
you should have it down pat, by now. So I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's no difference than starting a fishing team at your college. Just go and do it. So talk about the excitement as you get ready.
Man, it's all week. I've been talking to everybody. I've been asking the same thing about it, and I'm ready to get back out there. I fished 2 classics already, and they kind of, the nerves are still there, but now it's just game time. I made mistakes in the last 2, but still had fun at the same time, and this one's just, I'm going all in on this one. I was always trying to catch those limit fish and just survive in the last classics, and I was like, well, nobody really remembers second on down, so we got to go win this one because I don't care about second place. It's 5 big ones today. That's all I'm looking for.
That's exactly right, and I think Brian Brasher, you kind of mentioned that this is a psychological game, isn't it, Brian? From your point.
It is. It's different from any tournament you'll ever fish, and that's what you have to block out. You have to convince yourself that it's, at its core, just another fishing tournament, and go out there and do the things that you do. And Tyler, I know you're one of my favorite fishermen on our tour because your first win on the Elite Series came last year at Okeechobee.
Yes.
You found those fish out there accidentally, and you guys know what he was doing when he found those fish accidentally?
What?
He was crappie fishing when he found those fish.
I forgot about that.
Crappie fishing.
Yeah.
You know why he was crappie?
There is all kinds of value.
Now wait, all y'all can't talk at once. What he's trying to come back and tell us. Okay, Tyler, tell us about this crappie fishing that has come up here. Why were you crappie fishing?
Man, I cook dinner all the time for that group I stay with, and
yeah.
Honestly, when I get home, I'm not bass fishing at the house. I'm sockeye fishing. And,
there you go. Yeah.
I found a few. I found a few in the river, and I was like, man, let me just go out there and catch a few because it was windy on the lake, and
yeah,
I was just wore out from fishing all day, and I ended up catching probably 20 or 30 of them.
There you
I can't
go.
remember how many it was, but I caught a pretty good bit, and then in between there, I started scanning over, and I've seen some bigger dots, and just from experience, I knew that was bass the way they were swimming and setting up, and I guess I found the glory hole.
Well, it was meant to be when something like that happens. But and I know Ron's getting ready to ask you something technical. I got to ask you, what have you learned from your 2 previous classic appearances to get you ready for this one?
Mainly just to block out all the.
There you go. Yeah.
The scariness stuff about the classic. It's just the hype of it. It's the classic. Everybody freaks out. Like my first one, everybody's like, "Oh, you're not going to do good your first one, first or 2, just because you're still learning everything about it. Like it's just so much to handle. It's a 2-week tournament basically, just because of the way the practice is, and then we got a week off basically, and then we start again. So much could change in that week span, and or 2-week span, and it's just something you just got to keep an open mind with whenever you start that tournament Friday morning, because so much stuff could have changed.
Yeah.
And this time of year, those fish are steady moving.
And Ron, you're into that. Ask him something.
Yeah, Tyler, this time of the year, typically the bass are in pre-spawn mode. How important is it to be able to make changes day to day or hour to hour even based on weather conditions? You have a thunderstorm comes through or a cold front that comes through. How important is it to make adjustments?
Well, for instance, at the last tournament at Lake Fork, I was actually catching all my fish not on a live scope. I was catching them actually shallow, throwing a swim jig up shallow in a foot of water, catching some fun. It was fun fishing, but that cold front came through the second day of practice or so, or third day. And come tournament time, of course, everything changed. The fish weren't up shallow like they were. and they backed off. So just from, long time from experience and knowing what the cold fronts do to the fish, they'll just back off the bank a little to that first little stump, or that first just any kind of structure that's sitting off in 8 to 10 foot of water that's easy to get right back where they are when it warms up again. And that's how if I was able to catch them. I just backed off the bank a little, and I was just fishing the structure, and I'd get the jerk bait by the structure, and you'd see them come out those trees and come eat it.
Well, we're going to ask everybody during the show today, Tyler, to give us their prediction on what it's going to take to win this tournament. Now, Joey is before you. He set the pattern for us, so I want to hear it from you. What would you take right now to win this tournament? Poundage.
I would, just because you got lots of with the weather, looking at it, pretty stable. I'd say nothing dramatic really changing. So I think if you can find a pattern, it could somewhat stay.
Yeah.
And I'd say 20 to 21 and a half a day.
20 to 21 and a half a day, and I'm not good at mathematics.
That's right
on. Brasher's got all the education on that. So
64, about where Joey.
That's what I'm coming up with. Have you talked to Joey already today, Tyler? I mean, you and Joey must be working on the same computer, but that's. That's pretty close to what he said. Now, if this works out, all 5 of you guys pick the same weight, I'm going to get real fishy about this, and that's no pun intended. But
it's like some NFL scripted stuff now, huh?
Yes.
Gotten into the fishing game.
And I know, as Ron said, Ron asked him because he's got some great sponsors. I know.
Absolutely. Talk about your sponsors and how they help you.
Man, I got some great sponsors. I don't have the title still. I'm kind of just betting on myself again this year. It worked out last year, so we're doing it again this year.
That's great. Yeah.
Just all my other sponsors I have, like Dakota Lithium, they've been there since day one for me, and they're one of the best battery companies out there. And they're just improving every day. And it's just the batteries that you need on the water for fishermen like us, or any just local fishermen that love fishing daylight to dark. You don't have to worry about those batteries going out. And and then F5 rods. Actually, I got a signature series by F5.
There you go.
They're some of the best rods out there. They're super light, and actually all my fish came off my signature series last week at Lake Fork. It's a jerkbait rod I got made, and it's super sensitive. It's got a good backbone to it, but at the same time, it keeps those fish pinned up when they're trying to jump all over the place and not spit those hooks.
That's great, and I've got to ask you.
Awesome.
I've got to ask you, if I'm not mistaken, you turn a magic number birthday this year, the big 30, right? I mean, is coming up. Coming up in June.
Yeah.
What would? How would you like an early birthday present? What would it mean for you to win this classic and celebrate your 30th birthday a couple of months early?
Man, you know what? If I win this classic, I'd just tell everybody they don't have to give me anything for my birthday. I'd be satisfied.
You take the money and run, huh? Okay.
That's right.
I mean,
Tyler, real quickly, how does Grand Lake set up for you?
In previous years, I fished it through college and a couple of just opens, and it was a 50-50 check. Like, sometimes I do really good being a top 10, and sometimes I was just really not competing at all. But now, just with my experience now, especially with live scope, and I'm just so confident in it that I know, like, especially this lake with the rocks and how they're setting up pre-spawn, that they're going to be setting up with structure almost similar to Lake Fork. They're going to be on that structure right before where they want to be at to spawn, and I think we can really get it dialed in this time, and I think everybody else can as well, but it's just whoever can dial it in the most. So that's what I'll be looking for when I'm up there.
Well, I think you got the right priorities, and this is, if I'm not mistaken, the Grand Lake has hosted the Classic twice, Brian?
Twice before. This will be the third time.
Third time there.
Third time.
Third time at this wonderful facility, and of course it includes so much. And I guess, Tyler, you also have a chance to mix with your fans, too. I know that means a lot to you, too, doesn't it?
No, it does. My family's awesome, and just my girlfriend, everybody that comes support us. It's like the fans, they'll travel all the way from Louisiana to come up
They
there
will.
and have a good time at the Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, they love to party. They love to drink, and I love being able to party with them. But I got a job to do this week, so hopefully I can party with them as a celebration after.
Well,
We'll drink for you. Don't worry.
Yeah,
We'll do that for you.
yeah. Brian will take care of you, and Ron will follow you. Okay, I mean that's
That's it.
when you get there and do
what
all
I learned
that.
with Ron is you better not get in front of that camera.
Oh,
Ron's
does
thinking
Ron?
of pictures.
Does Ron have a camera? I didn't know that. Ron didn't have a camera.
I didn't.
Yeah, it's
I think
attached
he'd
to.
let everybody know.
Yeah, it's attached to him. That's for sure. But
That's right.
he does a great job. And Tyler, I know our listeners out there, a lot of them are pulling for you right here in Memphis area for what you've done. And we don't believe in luck here, buddy. So just go for it and have a great time and take care of Ron as best you can for me. Okay? All right.
I will. I'll keep them intact. I appreciate y'all giving me a chance to get on here.
All right, buddy. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler.
We'll see
okay.
you in Tulsa.
All right. All right. All right, Tyler Rivet. We appreciate him dropping in with. This is just rolling, folks. We got Bryant Smith, Greg Hackney, and Brock Mosley coming up right after this. And before we close out this segment, I know Brian Brasher, from your point, is going to Tulsa is a great place to do it, isn't it?
It's great. Everything is right there together. It's a great venue for a class. The lake is not exactly right on top of the weigh-in venue, but that's okay because it's a great fishery. It's a straight shot there and back, and the fans just treat us wonderfully. The first year I went there was 2016. Manning the door for us. She saw my Alabama hat, and the next day she told me she was going to bring her Oklahoma hat.
Oh my!
And showed up, and I couldn't read the OU on it, and she said it was because the OU was in Cherokee, and I told her I had to have one of those hats.
Are you serious? Yeah.
She came back. I've still got it.
Well,
Oklahoma hat.
we'll all be one happy family next year. We'll let Oklahoma in if they want to. Okay. Bring along that little school from Texas too. Bring them on.
That's right.
We're ready for that. All right, let's take a break on Outdoors with Larry Ray. We're going to take a break and come right back on this Bassmaster Classic preview show.
Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM.
Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife and Resources Agency.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray. I don't know how many times I've said that over the past 23 years. But again, good morning to all you good folks here in Memphis on AM 790 every Saturday morning from 9 to 10:30. And this is one of my favorite shows of the year. We're talking the Bassmaster Classic, the 54th Bassmaster Classic, coming up March 22nd through 24th at the Grand Lake of the Cherokees, right outside of Tulsa. And we're talking to 5 guests on today's show who are getting ready to maybe make some history when it comes up to the Classic. And, of course, our co-host today, Ron Wong. Ron, you have set up a wonderful lineup of guests, and you even talked us into another co-host. Who's this guy on the other line with us, too?
Well, we've got a wonderful co-host. First of all, he used to live in Memphis.
Bless
he
his
knows
heart.
the outdoors.
Yes.
And, he's a good friend of Outdoors with Larry Ray, our friend Brian Brasher.
Hey,
good morning again, Brian.
Good morning. I still have not learned to interpret Ron Wong. I don't know why Larry keeps saying that. I don't know how to do that.
No. Well, somebody has to. You know what I mean? Me and Ron, we're brothers by another mother, they say, because Ron has been such a part of this show for many years, and this classic lineup is classic, and I know we have a next guest, a young man on with us that I think this is a first timer for him. And Ron, won't you introduce this next one?
No, he's been on our show once before, I believe.
Well, if he would remember it because that's part of it.
He might not have been. But
Well, introduce him anyway. Introduce him.
All right. Our next guest has been one of the most consistent elite anglers in terms of how they finish high every year.
Yes.
Last year it was his first rookie year on the Elite Tour, and I had the opportunity to meet him at a wonderful place called Gros Savon.
Yes.
Down in Louisiana. He's from Roseville, California, which is a suburb of Sacramento, close to Folsom Lake. Bryant Smith. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Hey, we're doing great, man. We appreciate you giving us a little California sling in here because Ron always talks about the Delta, and we think he's talking about Mississippi, and he's talking about California. So we get kind of confused here, Brian. But I know this is your first Classic, right? I mean,
yes, sir. Okay. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Let's talk about it for the first timer because you're not the only. I don't know. Brian Brasher, we got 54 anglers in here, 56 anglers in here. I don't know how many is the first time. I know that 17-year-old kid is, but
yeah, it's definitely his first time. I'm not sure the exact number, but there's always a few, and I'm always interested to see. You know, Bryant, you're coming off a great season, and
yes,
if you made the Saturday cut in 6 of the 9 heats for the regular season.
Yeah,
that's a great season by any stretch for anybody, but it is your first Classic, and I'm interested to know, have you sought out advice from anybody who's been there before?
Yeah.
You know, I've talked to a few guys just in passing, and they would kind of, just kind of enlighten me on how it all went, because this is not a normal Elite Series tournament. This is not a normal tournament at all.
No.
We got like a week and a half of just doing this and doing that, media days and practicing and trying to figure out how to win the thing. So the biggest thing that I've gotten from everybody is just enjoy every second of it.
That's right. And we're not there to make your life miserable, I promise. We'll ask a lot of questions.
No.
It's pretty amazing. You talk about media days there at the Classic. I mean, you're going to have a couple of hundred media people floating through there, and everybody wants your time.
Yep.
And certainly I know I'm going to be asking for your time. And, how have you prepared mentally for the Classic?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can really prepare for it just because I am so excited. This has been a lifelong goal for me ever since I was 10 years old. I've always wanted to fish the Bassmaster Classic, and now to be here, I prepared as much as I can doing the studying and pre-practicing Grand Lake and all that, getting familiar with it. But I don't think I can ever be actually ready to go fish my first Bassmaster Classic.
What about somebody that's it's been your mentor or someone you've looked at and all of a sudden, hey man, you may rub shoulders with some of these guys. Has there been somebody in the BSS background of great folks over the years that was one of your heroes?
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon Polinick, he's always been a guy that's just, I can ask him advice, I can give him a call whenever, and he's always there to just answer my questions and kind of, like you said, just mentor me through the whole process of really doing this for a living and fishing at the highest level.
Well, I think Brian Brasher, in this story that I read, you kind of threw in Brandon along with some guy named Christie. I think it's Jason Christie. You mentioned that, and that's a pretty good guy to be mentored by, isn't it, Brian?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think Brian, if you're going to look up to somebody, that's a good one, I would say.
Yes, yeah, and
absolutely,
and that's it. The advice. So. You got practice, Ron, asking these technical questions. I want to know how he prepares. We got the mental side, but there's a little bit of grueling work coming for you, right? I mean,
right. Brian, growing up, you have one of the things where you live, it affords you to learn a lot of different kinds of techniques to catch fish, whether it's in rivers or highland lakes or whatever. So it gives you a lot of different. You've learned a lot of different techniques to catch bass. How does Grand Lake set up for you?
It's definitely it's not like anything we have in California.
I don't think
so. As far as it sets up, but what it does offer me is a lot. I can use a lot of the techniques that I learned from the West Coast and use them out here. We throw a jig a lot, we throw a crankbait a lot. We obviously do the forward-facing sonar thing out there. And a lot of those techniques that I've learned over the years from fishing on the West Coast, I'm absolutely going to rely on them in this tournament this week.
All right. Well, we've asked everybody, Brian, let's get it out of the way real quick, Ron. Yeah. We want to find out. A lot of these guys are projecting what they think might win this tournament. Have you taken time to even think what you would like? If someone would give you a weight in poundage right now and you go home happy, what would you like to see Bryant Smith come up with at the Classic?
Man, if I could get 20 pounds a day.
There we go.
Right at 60 pounds, that would be, if I weighed that and got beat, there's, tip my hat to them.
Okay, so if you got 30.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we've got three guys that are all in this. Does that surprise you, Brian Brasher? It doesn't to me. These guys have studied this lake, obviously, right, Brian?
They don't go into this blindly.
No.
Studied what it's taken to win tournaments around that lake for the past year.
Yeah,
they know what they're getting into. So no, they're not guessing. They know.
And
that's right. Brian, you can't do this without some great sponsors. Talk about your sponsors and your family.
Absolutely. I got a great group, starts with my family back home. They allow me to travel across the country, and my wife takes care of I got a 1.5-year-old son back home. So, got to start there with the family. My mom and dad, they supported me, and they let me kind of live this dream out. And then, I got the business sponsors. We have Decisely, which is a health insurance for small businesses, Buck and Bass, Strike King, Lew's, Skeeter, Yamaha. It takes a whole village to make this happen, and I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I am in this sport without everybody around me.
Are you looking forward to driving into that place and hosting up them big bass for a guy that's never done it before in this setting? How do you brace yourself for that? I know butterflies have got to be there. I don't know. How did we ever get that term, butterflies? Why didn't moths or something like that, or something? But now talk about that from that side for you, a guy from California with big dreams, fishing in Oklahoma against guys from all over the world, including Japan and everything like that. What's it going to mean for you from the emotional side of this, Bryant?
Man, I've visualized it hundreds of times in my mind, and I've gone over it, and almost obsessed over it my whole life. And now that it's this close, I have no idea what to expect when it actually happens, but I know it will absolutely exceed everything that I thought it would be.
Well, I think a lot of go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, Brian. Just as a fan and somebody that sits in the crowd in one of these arenas, and you drive up and everybody's clapping and yelling.
Yeah.
It really gets me all excited.
And you're not even in there, Ron. You're excited just to see him come in. I know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I have to tell you, what do the fans mean to you?
Oh man, it's incredible, and especially because I've been fortunate enough to go to the past, I think 3 classics, and I've sat in those stands and I've seen, I saw Jason Christie win at Hartwell, and it's inspiring stuff to see it happen and be in there with all the fans, and now that I get to go and kind of be in front of the fans, man, it's a dream come true.
Well, I think it won't be long. It'll be a couple of weeks. Got to hold your horses here. You got to practice, and you got to take some time off, and then you you hit the stage and you're one of 56 for not only the money that comes in it, but the prestige, because winning the Classic, it puts you on the spot, buddy, and it changes your life. Isn't that right, Brian Brasher? Yeah.
Yes, and that's exactly what you said, Bryant. Soak it all in.
Soak
it's going to be a little overwhelming, but soak it all in for sure.
All right, buddy.
That's right. And I want to let all of our listeners know that you're going to be meeting Bryant Smith via pictures that I will be sending to LarryRay.com during the Classic.
Ron will be there. Just go to LarryRay.com. I spell it the correct way, REA. Get that in there, and Ron will be there. Bryant, thank you, buddy, for taking time. Don't believe in luck. Just go get them next in a couple of weeks, and we'll be keeping track of you. Okay, man?
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Let's take a break. Let's take a break on Outdoors with Larry Ray. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM.
Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife and Resources Agency.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on AM 790 right here in Memphis, Tennessee for almost 24 years. We've been broadcasting the fastest 90 minutes in outdoor radio program. If you don't believe us, just ask anybody that's been with us. It just rolls by. We're already at the top of the hour. For all you folks in Brownsville and Jackson and throughout the Mid-South, one of my favorite shows of the year is our annual Bassmaster Classic preview. Of course, the Classic is coming up March 22nd through 24th out of Oklahoma. And right now, most of these guys we're talking to on today's show are in Oklahoma, where it has become weather-wise right now. I'm just glad they're not on the water right now in the tournament. But we're rolling. Brian Brasher from Bass Magazine and the Times and everything else, and he was smart enough to get a job and leave Memphis, and we're proud of Brian, what he's done, and we've kept Ron Wong instead of Brian. We made a swap, and Ron Wong is on the line also, and you folks know we made our picks early in the show, and this next guest is my pick. I'm saying it right now again, one in case you've forgotten earlier. I think this is the time for Greg Hackney to win the Classic. And so with that introduction, let's bring in Greg and see what Greg thinks about this. How about it, Greg?
How you doing, Larry?
All right. How about it, buddy? You ready to win this thing?
Oh, I've been ready.
18 times, Greg. What a role you've done, and what a role model you've been for all these young guys. 56 anglers in this thing from all over the world. And here you roll into this thing, and so what's anything different, Greg, over the years? You've reached that magic number of age. You're still a pup, okay? But I'm just telling you, are you? I think you're just as fired up as you've ever been, right?
I'll be honest with you, it's crazy that I fished this long, and I still love to fish as much or more than I ever have. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here this week.
And I know Ron we've all kept track of your career. And again, thank you for being on today's show. Talk about this Classic compared to the other ones. And I know Ron's going to ask him technical questions. And I know that my man Brian Brasher has seen and followed your career like so many in the Mid-South here have. Talk about preparing for Grand Lakes of the Cherokees.
You know, I've been here to Grand several times, but this was the first time I've ever actually came up here and pre-fished. I came up in December, and I say I pre-fished. I really didn't fish at all, but I rode the whole lake and just kind of got a feel for how the lake lays out. It's funny, as many times I've been here, I've never seen all of it. I've never been able to see all the lake because, you know, when you're practicing for an event, you fish and ride around. You just don't have time to really basically look at the entire lake. So I spent a couple of days up here in December and just looked at the whole lake. It looked great. I'll be honest with you. I've always been a fan of this lake. It's always been considered one of the best lakes in the country that didn't have vegetation.
Yeah.
You know, So everything I read, it's funny, right before I talked to y'all, I read an article in Bassmaster on
Brian might have wrote it.
Yeah, that about how the shape of the lake and the fish quality and quantity, and the lake's just really, really healthy. And this is such a great time of the year to fish that it should be an exciting. It should be an exciting tournament. And weather-wise, looks like this will probably be the warmest classic I fished in 10 or 12 years.
In a while.
Yeah.
In a while.
Greg, I consider you as one of the best power fishermen ever.
Yeah.
And how does Grand Lake set up for that, as the best you can tell right now?
In the past, like I said, because we've been here and it was winter time, so most of the events I fished here in the past were really, really cold.
Yes. Yeah.
And it looked like this one, of course, we're having some thunderstorms today or whatever, and the front's coming through. And, our official practice, the 3-day period is going to be mild. It's not going to be what I would call warm, but it's going to be mild. It's not going to be super cold.
Yeah.
And it looks like right before the event starts, it's going to be warm again. Probably this rain we're having maybe dirty the water some. It's funny, the lake has been really stable since I came here in December. I've been looking at the water level. Hadn't changed much.
Yeah.
This part of the country, we had some floods in the south. They probably haven't had that here, but I mean, I would think setting up for a power fishing deal. It's hard to tell as far as fishing goes right now because, we're living in this time of technology.
Yeah.
And there'll be a huge portion of our group that basically, utilizes their front-facing sonar during this deal. And, right now, a jig head minnow has been a big dominant force,
really?
In the tournament scene. Yeah. So, but at heart, I am a, born and bred original bass fisherman. So I'm kind of a throwback, and I know that. And I feel like, my chances of doing well in the Classic will basically, will definitely be, fishing my strength, which is power fishing, whether it's cranking or spinner bait or flipping a jig or what that'll be. But I think the lake sets up because of the conditions, because we're going to have some really good conditions. There is a chance that a power fisherman can excel, this next week at the Classic.
Brian Brasher, talk about what Greg Hackney has meant to BASS.
Oh, we try to avoid the word. I'm an editor now, so when writers send in the word legend, I cut it out a lot, but I don't cut it out when they use it referring to Greg Hackney because it applies.
Yes.
He has done everything there is to do in bass fishing except win this tournament we're about to have. And in 2 trips to Grand, he has finished 13th in 2013 and 10th in 2016. And I just wonder, Greg, during either of those events, did you think to yourself, boy, if we were a month later,
now you're getting
it. Really be in good shape.
So I'll be honest with you, ever since when I first started my career, the Classics were, let's just say, August.
Yes.
Right. And I only had the opportunity, and I've always been a really good warm weather fisherman.
Yeah,
probably because of
where you're from.
The country I grew up in. We fished a lot in the summer.
Yeah.
So the wintertime Classics, I feel like I've struggled in, and some guys are just better cold water fishermen, and that's definitely not been anything that I felt like I survived.
Mm-hmm.
During the cold, because we have cold water events every year, but I always feel like I just survived those, and I always seem like I excel better once it gets warmer, and probably that leans to the power fishing.
Yeah.
Typically when the weather's warmer, you can get by with bigger stuff, bigger baits, and you can fish more aggressively, and that's the way I prefer to fish. And honestly, it's kind of those last 2 Classics here. They were super cold, super cold waters, especially when we started the events. And I kind of finessed my way through those events, smaller plugs, small jigs, and that type of deal. And I'll be honest with you, this week I don't think I'll do that. Win or draw, I just like the way it's setting up that I feel like I'll have a chance to power fish. And I just feel like that we're hitting this, at the right time. The fish will be pre-spawn, but they're in that point of pre-spawn. We get another full week. If we didn't have, chances are, if we didn't have this front that's going to come and drop the temperatures a couple nights, there'd probably be fish spawning by the time the Classic rolled around.
Wow.
So that's kind of where I'm looking at the trees, like driving up here, and typically anywhere in the country you go, once the trees start budding out, that kind of signals the beginning of the spawn. And there's a lot of trees here that are budding out. All the fruit trees have leaves, and I'm like, well, they definitely had some warm weather here. So just keep our fingers crossed, because, again, we're living in a time of unknown right now with the technology that's out there, and it seems like it's getting harder for guys to win, fishing traditionally. Yeah. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that,
I think
the Lord's going to shine on me this week, and I'm just going to go bass fishing just like I have. I mentally, I'm like a lot of guys right now fighting that. Not necessarily fighting it. I don't really have anything against it, but it's hard for me to make that change, because for the past 25 years,
that's right, yeah,
I fished one way, and it's hard for me to completely abandon that.
Yeah. Well, I think, and again, we're talking to Greg Hackney here on Outdoors with Larry Ray as we preview the 2024 Bassmaster Classic coming up March 22nd through the 24th. And before I ask you another question, and it's always off the wall. I tell everybody this is not Larry King Live. This is Larry Ray Dead. And we just talk. And we've asked all the other guys before you a prediction. If anybody would look up to a prediction, it's from you, Greg. When you look at this, what would you take right now, poundage, and go home a happy man, the happiest man in your life? What would you take right now to win this thing?
I'll just feel that 60-pound mark.
You guys are all together. Y'all been on some kind of party line, I think.
This is amazing. This is
everyone.
wow.
Now, back me up, Brasher. That's what everybody's saying, right? this.
20 pounds a day. Most bass fishermen are going to be happy with that most of the time.
Yes.
It's changed a little bit, like Greg said, but in most tournaments, if you can bring 20 pounds to the scales, you're going to feel pretty happy, especially in a Classic.
Well, Greg, I already know you're going to catch 64, so don't worry about it. Okay? That's I've already written it. I've already written it down here. So we'll talk about this, and we really appreciate you being on with us. Man, you've been successful. With what you've done in your career and everything like that. Talk about what the Classic still means to you and to these young folks. We only got a couple of minutes, but I think our listeners would like to know from your perspective what it takes to go into this Classic and still what it means to you.
Well, basically, I'll be honest with you. I got into the sport of tournament bass fishing because of the Bassmaster Classic, because I attended it at a very young age and was starstruck by not only the anglers, but by the tournament itself. And I'll be honest with you, if you told me that next year that you're like, we're going to fish, but we're taking away the Bassmaster Classic, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't guarantee you that I would fish next year.
Wow.
Or that I would tournament fish, because it does have that much impact on our sport, and all these guys fishing the Classic.
Yeah.
It's why they're here.
Yes.
It's why they do what they do. It is. I know it's cliche to say this, but
preach on, brother. Preach on, brother. Yeah.
Of fishing.
Yes.
There is nothing past the Classic. You can win nothing past it. Like, it's the pinnacle. It's basically you're on top of Mount Everest.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I know Brasher's he's laughing and Ron's laughing and all my listeners are laughing.
But that's the truth.
Yes.
That's the absolute truth.
Well, we appreciate you, Greg, taking time and being on Outdoors with Larry Ray. You've been on it many times, but again, go get them 2 weeks, buddy, and we'll go ahead and get ready to talk to you again after the Classic, and you can show us that trophy, okay, man? All right?
I definitely hope that we get the chance to visit after the Classic. I appreciate you letting me be on.
All right, buddy. Let's take a break on Outdoors with Larry Ray. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM.
Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife and Resources Agency.
Good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray. I think this is we just made a first, Shelby. I want you to mark this down. It's the first time I've ever swallowed a cough drop instead of chewing on it. So So if my voice sounds funny, it was about to go, and I'm getting my Godfather voice. Allergies are terrible at this time of the year, but hey, we're not talking about me. We're talking about Brock Mosley coming on with us right now. Completes what
the Bassmaster Classic.
Yes, completes what I think is another great show that Ron Wong has helped put together. And as we preview the 2024 Bassmaster Classic, and of course having Brian Brasher on with us also as a co-host. Brian, appreciate your comments throughout the show today. And, you know, I can't think of a better guy to wrap this baby up than somebody from Mississippi, that now we can talk to somebody who talks our language here. You know, I mean, so we got Brock Mosley on with us this morning. Good morning, Brock.
Morning, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Okay. All right. We've been real technical about this, Brock. You are number 5 in line. You've only followed guys who have won over $3 million in fishing. So I know, bless your heart, you're down there just, you know, you got enough cousins now that's been asking for money for a while. I know, because the success you have had. And we want to talk about this classic, man. You've won almost $1 million in your career. And this classic for you, I'm looking at the stats, and is this number 5 for you, Brock? Is that right?
Yes, sir. Number 5.
Number 5. And Brian Brasher, we've talked about winning that first one is hard to do. I mean, when you got 56 guys going out there in 2 weeks to win this thing, and I know, Brock, what would it mean for you to win the classic?
Oh, it means everything. It's the reason, you know, I chase this dream. I mean, I remember going to my first classic in the late 90s, and
how old were you?
I've been hooked.
How old were you?
Shoot, probably 9 or 10 years old.
9 or 10 years old. Hear that, guys? 9 or 10 years old. Okay, so the impression of that first time has led you to being able to do this thing 5 times now. So
yes, sir.
So it's got, you know, it's got to be important to you.
Yes, sir. It's the pinnacle of our sport, and it's what we work so hard week in and week out during the regular season to try to make it here, and to be able to say I've qualified for 5 of them is a dream come true, and something I don't take for granted, because I remember how hard it was to make my first one, so
yes.
Much less my 5th one. But
yeah,
right.
It's one I'm excited about. I've been known to battle it out with Jason Christie a few times, and
we've heard that name before.
Yeah, and to be able to do it on his home water would be pretty fun.
And I know,
and Brock, you've come close. I believe it was in Fort Worth when we were fishing there, the Classic. You made the Super 6, I believe it was, or top 10, I know.
Yes.
And does it help you to get that high and knowing what you need to do now to win?
Oh yes, sir. I mean, it's I finished 5th in Fort Worth at Ray Roberts and got to watch my travel partner win.
Yes,
win that one. It was one that I wish I could get back the very first hour of the first day.
Oh, I remember. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I lost that classic the first hour of the first day, one bad decision. But, the more times you make the classic, the more you strive to win, making it's an accomplishment, but, I've been here and done it, and, I want to make a strong showing.
Well, I know also consistency, Brock, and I think Brian will toss this into. You're known for being a very consistent angler. I mean, 80% of the time you're going to finish in the money. So how do you base that on? The consistency you've been able to do over your career?
It's just something I've always strove for. I watched guys like Greg Hackney and Bill Lowen when I was coming up, and they were making cuts, and that's what it's all about.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Winning trophies is fun, but I don't know if I'd rather be not win a trophy or not. But to make a living in this sport, you got to make checks. So I try to strive to be consistent and finish in the top of the points every year, and that's kind of where my goal is every year. And I've just been fortunate enough to have some breaks along the way to kind of help me get there. Because you got to have a lot of luck in this game. Let's be real honest.
Really? Okay. Now we know for sure. Now luck.
Yes,
well, Brock, this is Brian. I know you had a fifth place finish in the Classic in 2021, or at Fort Worth. You also had a fifth place finish, if I'm not mistaken, at Grand at an Open. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And actually, well before I even knew this Classic was coming to Grand, I'd always tell people, the best practice I've ever had was the last time the Elite Series came to Grand Lake, and I actually started day one in second place of that tournament.
You did? Okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I had just shy of 24 pounds that day, and
Whew, okay.
And the conditions changed on me, and I never made the right adjustment. I ended up 24th after day three was over, but I never made the right adjustment, and Kevin Van Dam went on to win that one.
Oh, okay, that's pretty good. Yeah.
But you're not going in blind by any means.
Yeah.
But, Grand Lake's a special place. It's a fun place to me. It's a place I've, had some success before, and it kind of reminds me of a lot of, Pickwick that I grew up fishing, a good bit.
Yes,
so,
yeah.
It's one of them lakes where, you just kind of click with. So I hope we have a good clicking going on this week and can, who knows, maybe put ourselves in contention going into day three.
What's a clicking going to be, buddy? We've been asking everybody, what's it going to take? What would you take poundage-wise right now and go home to Mississippi a happy man?
I don't know. I mean, this lake, this lake can put out. I mean, we've seen it when Edwin won here. He
That's
had
right.
nearly
Yeah.
30 pounds the final day. So,
yeah.
Well,
toss a number at us.
I would say 25 pounds a day. I'd be.
Oh, now we got somebody really going there. I go for that. Yeah, 25 pounds a day. Yeah.
25 pounds a day is the only number I'd feel safe with.
well, that answers the question because everybody's been in that 60 to 64 pound object, and you're coming up 20. I like that. And that's.
I'm not saying that's what it's going to take to win. I'm just saying that's what I would
you'd like to have
right
that.
Now.
Yeah, you take that right now. And
Yeah.
I know, Ron, you were talking about sets up for him. Ask him something about that because I'd like to know how this lake sets up for him. Yeah.
Well, having fished this in the past, coming springtime now.
Yeah.
How does this lake set up for you?
Yeah.
And looking at the weather forecast and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The weather forecast, we just hit a cold front. Like I
it's storming over there, buddy. We know. Yeah.
I just arrived to the lake, and I didn't know if I was even going to make the last 30 miles. The weather got so bad. But
Woo, okay.
I think after today, it's going to dip down a little cooler, but it's not going to be a major change. And I think next week's going to be a little more consistent. So
yeah.
I'm hoping that these fish are right there at staging in their pre-spawn, right before they move up to bed and spawn.
Uh-huh.
That's where I would want them to be for me personally, because I tend to kind of be able to read where they are. One thing about Grand Lake, it's a big time pattern lake. You figure out one or two deals, and you can kind of run it all over the lake.
Yeah,
right.
And that's kind of what I like about this place. So. It's not necessarily an area or a spot. It's more or less, figuring out one or two of the right patterns and just running with it.
Well, is your family going to be there this year?
Yes, sir. They will be coming up on Wednesday, and they'll meet me in Tulsa, of course, for the Night of Champions, and they'll be here to support me. And I don't know if they're going to be able to drive all the way to the lake every morning for takeoff, but they'll be there to support me when I make it back to the arena.
Hey, guys, we're talking to Brock Mosley, of course, out of Mississippi. And if I remember, and Ron's been correct me, you know what a fighting okra is, don't you, Brock? I mean,
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I was one.
You were a fighting okra. Okay. We finally got that out of there. That's Delta State.
And tell everybody what a fighting okra is, Larry.
It's an okra with his fist up in the air. Come on now. We know what it is. I got a cap. I had to get me a fight now. What?
One of the best mascots in college sports.
It is. I went down there and got me a cap because one of my best friends was a fighting okra, and I know you played some ball down there and everything, Brock, and got a lot of fans in this Memphis area. I know that, and Brian Brasher has talked about what it means to be on the stage and go through that thing. I'm asking most people, you guys, what would it mean for Brock Mosley to walk away with the championship of the Bassmaster Classic 2024?
Well, man, it's everything. It's legacy, and my stamp. And
there's that legacy word, Brian. There you go.
Yep, that's it.
That's it. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry, bro.
That's what we're here. That's what I'm here for now. This far in my career, I want to put my name in the history book. And the best way to do that's with a Classic win or the Angler of the Year. And this week it's all about the Classic win.
Well, I think it's pretty cool that you got a lot of fans out there, buddy. I know that in your career, what was it, baseball or whatever, we've only got a couple of minutes here. But, Brian, you got anything to offer here from Brock's perspective on this?
No, I remember Brock a couple of years back at Chickamauga. He finished second for the fifth time in his career.
Yeah.
And Steve Wright and I are sitting there ready to interview him, and we don't know what to say. We're speechless. We feel bad for him. He's fell short again. And Brock says, "Hey, guys, ask me anything. I'm fine." he lightened the mood for us.
Yes.
And I wrote the column the next day saying, "Hey, this guy's going to get over the hump. He's going to win one." And he did. He won last year at the Sabine River. Would not surprise me to see him lift that Classic trophy at all.
There you go, Brock. So,
yes, sir.
I mean, you got some guy named Hackney right on before you on the radio show today. He's going for his 18th time. So you're just a pup. But we want to wish you.
I know it.
Well, buddy, we got to let you go and get out of here. But a great tournament in 2 weeks. Ron Wong will be there again.
I'll see you there in Tulsa. All
right, buddy. Thank you, Brock. You be safe over there, buddy. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
See you there, Brock.
Howdy, toddy.
All right. Oh, there we go.
Howdy.
We almost got through with that without doing that. Okay. Can we cut that out? No. Hey, Brian Brasher, we appreciate you, buddy, hanging with us all this time, and hope everything heals up. And go fish Sunday and let us know how it's going. And then please help Ron over in Tulsa. Okay? All right.
Thank you guys so much, and I promise to watch after Ron.
All right. Thank you, man. All right. Appreciate you, buddy. All right. And Ron Wong, what can I say about you, buddy? Just safe travels, and we'll be looking at LarryRay.com for all you. Go on it right now. We got some stuff from Ron about other things going on. But, Ron, we appreciate you, buddy. You have a great weekend, okay?
Right. Will do.
Let's close this thing out like we do. Next week, folks, Turkey Show, gobble, gobble, gobble. We'll be on that. But let's close this baby out with it doesn't cost an extra cent to be a good sport. What else, Ron? God bless the USA.